Tanzania's Vice President, Nchimbi, is stepping down, and he's not just leaving the job. He says he's done with politics altogether. Now, the 54-year-old announced his exit less than 10 months after being sworn in, making him the first vice president to resign since Tanzania's independence in 1964. In his resignation letter, he explained that he was simply keeping a promise. He told President Hassan back in August 2025 that he would step aside the moment she wanted someone else in the role. And he now says that he's certain, without any doubt, that time has come. His departure takes effect September 4th, and Tanzania's constitution now gives Hassan just 14 days from that date to name a replacement who still needs majority approval from parliament. So what makes this messier is the timing. Just days before Nchimbi's announcement, authorities suspended the publishing license of Mwana Halisi, a newspaper that had purported claims, that Nchimbi was resisting pressure to quit and that tensions was brewing between him and the president. Officials say the paper broke rules on accuracy and balance, but the coincidence has people talking. It also lands against a tense political backdrop, and that is that Hassan won last year's election with 98% of the vote in a process international observers criticized, and hundreds died in unrest around the vote. Now, joining us to speak further on this, we have John Kitoka. He's Director of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, CHADEMA. And we also would like to we'll be speaking to Kamala Dickson, a political analyst in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us at this time. So let me begin with John Kitoka. Let's start with the timing, because it is impossible to ignore. Now, Nchimbi resigns days after a newspaper reporting on his rift with the president gets shut down. Do you believe that sequence is a coincidence, or was this resignation engineered?
Thank you so much for the question. From my side, I can say, before I respond to the question directly, I think Mr. Nchimbi is one among the political figures in Tanzania that he has been strongly firm standing since he joined the youth wing, which is called UVCCM. He was a leader, and he had the opportunity to join in the National Executive Committee representing the young people in Tanzania. During that time, we experienced the huge, we can call it the huge, vibrant movement from the young youth wing in Tanzania, where they had challenged even the president, they challenged even the decision made within the party. So he wasn't an easy person during his time, and during his service, there seems to be the caliber of those leaders that they lead the movement, the youth movement throughout the country. So as we speak, it was a shock, actually, a big shock to see his resignation letter. And most of us, we didn't, in the expression, because there was rumors before that he might anytime resign. But then the question was, why is he resigning? So the rumors was there in the street. People are talking. Even some of the media houses, they publish the newspaper. You have explained it before. So nobody had the clue on what exactly is happening. Then we saw the resignation letter through the social media on his Instagram account. And then from there, today, Tanzania, the Chama cha Mapinduzi National executive committee. They are sitting today in the meeting. So there was like timing yesterday. Today is like the following day from the other day. So from his resignation letter, he explained that he wants to retire from active politics.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But he also said that, in his letter, he also said that he is satisfied beyond doubt that the president wants change. So what does that phrase tell us? Or rather, what is it carefully avoiding to tell us?
Yeah, from the real situation in the country, Mr. Emmanuel Nchimbi or Ambassador Nchimbi was, I think it's around 10 months since the government took power. And during that time, from when they started till yesterday when he resigned, it seems there were a lot of, in one way or other, of looking at a picture in two sides of, like looking at a picture in two sides of the coin, in terms of leadership, where you find the president has a big picture to the next thing, what the country wants to achieve, but also even the vice president, I think he has his own picture. So when you are in the government, I think you need to work as a team. When there is a controversial between two people, misunderstanding between two people in the leadership, again, I think it's not creating a room for focusing on issues or agenda that you want to achieve. So in our constitutional, the vice president is not a functional seat, but for him, he actually helped the president to achieve or to work together, like someone who is assisting the president to move the agenda to make sure that the country is safe and everything. So these two people, I think, in one way.
Sorry to cut you off, but then speaking of the agenda, right? There's no sitting vice president. No sitting vice president has resigned in Tanzania since independence. Now, does it say anything about the state of internal party discipline within the CCM that this is happening now under Samia?
I think politics in Tanzania is changing a lot from where we was since independence till now. In this time we are seeing a lot of things that are happening. When we were in those days back then, I remember when we was in school, we used even to claim the names of the ministers because they used it to stay for so long. The readers, they used to stay for so long, like 5 years on the cabinet, or 10 years on the cabinet, or 20 years. But like this time we are observing a lot of things are changing very fast and very quick. And politics in Tanzania is no longer the same as we used to know. So I think the party, the opposition, the citizen, security forces, and every institution, I think they're in the process of reformation. Then if you look at the incidents that happens during the election, even themselves, they are adding more the pace on the country on how they are responding on things, because we have the international communities, we have the opposition parties, we have the citizen, we have the party itself. So I think in all scenarios, they are looking on how they can actually find the better way or forge out the pathway on how they are moving forward. So I think it's something new that the country is experiencing. It's something that we never experienced, but I think it's how the system works when there is a lot of pressure and a lot of things to respond to. So we are waiting for the National Executive Committee to come out with a recommendation on what exactly is going to be after. Because according to our constitution, they gave the president 14 days after the resignation of current vice president to appoint a new one, and it will be the name will be taken the parliament to be confirmed.
Yeah, we're still expecting that, and the reason why I asked the previous question, is because the vice president was actually sworn in less than 10 months ago after being handpicked as her running mate. So it makes you wonder, what could have gone wrong, that fast between two people who campaigned together. So let's quickly head to, Mwana Halissi's license that was suspended for 6 months right before this. Can you walk us through what that newspaper reported and why the government's explanation about accuracy and balance is not convincing critics?
So in Tanzania, I think from what I've explained in the previous statements, that there has been a lot of pressure, especially on the institutional response to a lot of issues that are happening in the country. So the Mwanalisi newspaper, I think they reported the information, but then in Tanzania we have the Media Council and we have the Tanzania TCRA that is working to monitor on how the newspaper, the media houses, they are actually publishing and informing the public. So in the previous, we saw the Mwananchi, they were suspended, I think, for 6 months. And here, the Analyst, then they were suspended for 6 months. So I think it's the response within the institutions that they are given the mandate by the president on how to operate within their capacities. So I saw a lot of people, they are questioning on the news on why like the TCRA has suspended the newspaper, but then there were a response from other people. They said it's within their mandate, but then yesterday when the vice president wrote a letter to resign, people were then questioning, like, why did you suspend the newspaper while what they wrote came to happen? So those were the issues that they are happening in the country. Sometimes it's difficult to question on the institution because they always do their work according to the power that they're given by the constitution or by the president.
All right. So let's also talk about the fact that Tanzania sits at 117 out of 180 on the Press Freedom Index. Now, is what we're watching here a preview of how dissent, even, dissent buried inside the ruling party, gets handled from now on? Because we actually saw a lot of that during the elections as well. And we know that Samia came into office in 2021 promising a break from Magufuli's restrictions. Now, 4 years later, are we watching that promise quietly collapse? Are we seeing the same thing that we saw during Magufuli's regime?
So I think in terms of leadership, there is a bit difference between these two leadership. In the previous, there was a lot of crackdown of media, civil society, and freedom of press was down. After when President Samia took on the power, there was a lot of promise to change in terms of press, media, freedom of expression, and others. And the president went far and promised the citizens that they are going to make constitutional change. So all of those were the promises to see if those who were acting before, if there is a change that they can, in one way or other, they can lead to the transformation of Tanzania, freedom of press, and freedom of expression. So recently, we have been observing some of the institutions, but also sometimes we see the government comes out and issuing some statements that there is freedom of press, freedom of expression, and people are free to speak, people are free to have a conversation and advice in the system. So there is a lot of controversial statements when it comes to the issue of freedom of press and freedom of association and media in our context. Yeah.
All right. So I'm being told that John has been able to join us. John, welcome back. So let's hear your thoughts, especially when it comes to constitutionally. You know, now that Samia has 14 days from September 4 to name a successor, who then needs parliamentary approval? So looking at CCM's dominance in parliament, is that approval process a genuine check or a formality?
Thank you for having me again. I've had internet difficulties.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But I think this whole thing should be treated within the context of our own political history and what actually happened on October 29th, 2025. The thing is, Samia Suluhu Hassan never became president through the democratic process. She became president after a process that was rigged from the word go. And Nchimbi's decision yesterday to submit a letter of resignation on my part is what I would describe as a case of chickens are coming home to roost. She has been an integral part of a system that has been undermining democratic principles, human rights, rule of law, you name it. As we speak, over the recent few weeks or if not months, I think he refused to continue serving the devil. Butcher Samia, who was responsible for ordering the killings of thousands and thousands of our people over a space of no less than 7 days, had now come to a point where she could no longer believe in Nchimbi. And Nchimbi, who was himself a devil at some point, but he said this time round, no. So, as I said, it is a case of chickens are coming home to roost. Mm. So, he decided that enough was enough and tendered his resignation. But over the past few weeks and several other months, he has been making statements to the effect that we need constitutional reforms and in particular electoral reforms in Tanzania. Mm. And that is a language that Butcher Samia does not really want to hear. Butcher Samia wants someone who always wants to glorify her, someone who is always licking her tooth.
A yes man.
Someone who is always saying only positive things about her. So we should actually expect, rumor has it that this pressure has been piling up for weeks and weeks, but then it was too much for him to bear, because according to our constitution, he had already been invited to appear in a disciplinary committee of CCM, which is no longer a political party in its strict sense of the word. CCM is now a state party. So
you're saying it doesn't cost her anything. You're saying it doesn't cost her anything, even if Nchimbi, leaves, especially when it comes to coalition building within the CCM. It doesn't cost her anything.
There's no coalition building in CCM. CCM is Samia is suffering what I would describe as a serious crisis of political legitimacy. So she's trying to hang on anything that is possible for her to do. She's supposed to be she could be appearing in The Hague. Don't forget about that. Don't forget that she has so many serious human rights violations on her head. So she would actually never tolerate anyone who speaks of a new constitution, a constitution that would provide a level playing ground for every political actor to participate. And every Tanzanian is calling for accountability for the murders that she was largely responsible for. And don't forget that her government has been, her government and her party have been an integral part of a system that orchestrates abductions of oppositions, dissenting voices, journalists who dare question her misdeeds, and all manner of bad things that her government has been doing throughout 10 years since Magufuli. Now she's trying to hang on a bar, trying to survive the political life that is seemingly actually dwindling. I would dare to say that Nchimbi is a sacrificial lamb in a deeply state party that is in a serious crisis of confidence, serious crisis of legitimacy. So, and the voices calling for a new constitution, a constitution that is a people's constitution. People are calling for a reformed electoral system. Yeah. And all those voices are louder now to the extent whether Nchimbi stayed or didn't stay as vice president, it wouldn't really change much, because over the opposition, the main opposition part, we never recognized him as because she never really won the election, because there was no election the 29th of October. It was chaos. And because it was chaos, she decided to install herself as president.
All right, so
which is what we would call self-coronation.
John, we're actually about wrapping up. So if you could just, quickly wrap up in the next 30 seconds, so we can have final thoughts from Kamala as well.
Yes.
Can you wrap up in the next 30 seconds? John?
Oh, yes. So I think there has been a trend, a script in the region, Tanzania being the leading candidate in ensuring that rulers are installing themselves in power without the democratic mandate of the people. So election has become a formality It has happened in Tanzania, and if you actually observed, if you followed, you could even see that there were only 3 or 4 presidents who attended illegal swearing in, one of which was CHADEMA of Zambia, who actually has done exactly the same thing that Samia did. So I think we need to have, as Pan-Africans, as Africans, we need to have a coalition of the will, that solidarity of unity and solidarity.
All right. I think that 30 seconds is actually up. Thank you so much. But let's quickly give Kamara as well 30 seconds to just quickly wrap up. Thank you so much, John.
In the transitional stage, so we will observe a lot of issues arising at this time, so that we forge out on our new pathway. So yeah, whatever is happening, it might lead us somewhere, and I think as a national and an institutional, with the institutional is how they grow on rise and falls. It's on how they happen. So maybe we'll be waiting to see what's going to come out from the National Executive Committee meetings that they are sitting today and tomorrow in Dar es Salaam.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the conversation today. We've had John Kitoka, Director of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, CHADEMA. We've also had Kamala Dickson, political analyst in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you.